afternoon and welcome to the Rugby League verdict on the day that clubs have voted in favour of radical plans to overhaul the sport. IMG's grading proposals have been approved after 86% of the Rugby Football League's council voted in favour of the club grading, which will end promotion and relegation. The grading system will come into full effect by 2025. John Wilkin joins me this week alongside our special guest, the head coach of Wigan Warriors, Peet. Gents, welcome to the verdict. John, let me start with you. I mean, it is a hugely significant day for the sport, isn't it?
Yeah, it's massive. So the Rugby League, for people who don't know, brought IMG on as a partner to grow and market the sport and come up with strategies for improvement. One of their recommendations has been a grading system which goes against this British culture of promotion and relegation. Essentially, if your team ticks off several criteria and does very well, you can get promoted to Super League whether you win the competition below or not. It sounds ludicrous to everyday sports fans, but do you know what I'm delighted about, Jenna, is that look, we've brought IMG in, who are specialists, who are experts in this sort of thing, and the game has overwhelmingly, the clubs have overwhelmingly supported it. It would have been so Rugby League to get to this situation, and you can just see a smoke-filled boardroom where the chairman are just like, nah, we're not having it, get rid of him. But they've actually gone for it, which I think is great. The interesting thing is Catalan don't get a vote, which I find remarkable. So Catalan Dragons, one of the leading teams play out the south of France, don't get a vote on the Rugby League Council. I think obviously that needs to change, but it's good news, Jenna Brooks.
Why? Do you know why that is, John Wilkin?
The French, and they're not part of the Rugby League Council.
Toulouse, it's the same for Toulouse as well. It is.
Yes, but I just think it's strange that they're not in. If they're a valuable and visible part of our sport, get them in. Get them in all of the decision making. We shouldn't be having a vote without Catalan involved. They're one of the best clubs in the competition. Just let them have the say. Forget the bureaucracy and the historical politics that creates inertia in sport. Just get rid of it. Get them in. Let them have a vote.
Yeah, absolutely. Peet, I won't ask you why the Catalan Dragons aren't in, but it is certainly a new era in rugby league. Exciting, or would you say it's daunting times for the sport ahead?
Exciting, certainly. I think I'd echo what John said there. I think it's onwards now. It's optimistic. I think that we've always been confident. Anyone that's been involved in rugby league knew that the product was there. Know that the quality of the game is world class. Is up there with anything that you'll see on TV. And it's been the marketing around the game, the international programme, and the accessibility for people outside of the heartlands that needs to improve. And I think with what's happened, the way media's changed in the last couple of decades, I think a company like IMG is exactly what we need.
So it's clear, Matt, that you are in favour of the changes. John, are you in favour of the new grading system or against?
Yeah, without doubt. Like, rip it up, scrap it, start again, do something different. I believe that change is scary for people. Everyone resists change initially. People, when you speak to them about the grading system, are a little bit confused by it. But I embrace change. I think we should be architects of change within our sport. We're small, we're nimble, and we should behave in that way, not like a big clunky organisation. So yeah, I'm all for it, Jenna. Crack on.
So as I said, 2025 we'll see those changes implemented. But Peet, I want to move on to last week's action because your team enjoyed a huge win over Warrington in what was being dubbed as the top of the table match. I mean, what was your reaction to beating the side that hadn't lost a game this year?
To be honest, Jenna, my pride and happiness around that performance was the commitment. I think the result was, I thought I was confident throughout the game that we would get the result, but in the end it could have actually gone another way, and it was important to me during the game that I didn't get swayed by that. If the result hadn't gone our way, I knew I was seeing a team that I was proud of, a group of players that I was proud of, that was playing in a way that we can be really proud. So the last few weeks the results have gone our way. It won't always be the case, but as long as we can come into work and be proud of our efforts, and I think that display, particularly when Warrington scored their try, I was even then I was very proud.
Because you were speaking post-match about your side's commitment. Where does this commitment come from, and is it something that I suppose you can coach into a team?
I don't know if you coach it, but you can promote it, encourage it, reward it. it can be the first thing and the last thing that you talk about on a daily basis. So if that's coaching, then we're all part of it. That's what our environment's based on. And I know John's been part of teams where that was the focal point, and players come and go, coach will come and go. But if your club's built on effort to the team, then you're often not far off.
John, something that you spoke about during that game, actually it was after that game, you suggested that Matt Peet's team slowed the ruck down to an almost, in your words, painful pace. For people watching who might not understand exactly what you mean, and I suppose for the benefit of their head coach, Matt Peet, what did you mean?
Well, I thought they slowed the game down to a painful pace. That's exactly what I meant.
Can you elaborate?
What I meant by that is, yeah, absolutely. For people who don't know, right, the game of rugby league is a physical battle. And there's a battle that's going on where the team with the ball want to play the ball quickly and start play quickly, and the team who defend have to have effort, discipline, and the commitment that Matt speaks of to stop that. And I thought Wigan dominated that situation. I thought they front-loaded all of their energy into controlling the speed of this big Warrington team that's been riding roughshod over everybody. So, if anything, what I said was a compliment. And I think when I look at Matt Peet's team, I use this analogy on the coverage at the weekend. It's like Wigan are like an amorous dog that's taken a shine into your lower leg, and you shake it off. You can't get rid of it. It keeps coming back for more. And I think what fascinates me about Matt's team is that defensive attitude, and I'm interested, Matt, in level of priorities and where things sit. How important is that? How connected and how you apply your effort in your defence? Yeah,
it's number one. I've said it before when I used to be the assistant here and I was coaching the defence. I think your defence is emblematic of your culture and your commitment. I think attack is quite often, you can give teams system and structures, as long as the core skill's good, eventually you'll post points. But defensive attitude, consistency in those effort areas quite often conveys the lads' commitment to one another and to the cause. So you're right, John, it has to be the most important thing here, because we think it shows that we care about one another. You're 100% right about the contest that goes on. Whoever wins the physical battle will play the ball fast with the ball and slow it down in defence. So I do take that compliment.
That's very good to hear, Matt Peet. I just want to actually get your take on one player who certainly comes across as being hugely committed, Matt, and that's Harry Smith. We've known that he has been very good for the last few seasons. He's now been included in Sean Wayne's England squad. Just how good can Harry Smith get?
I think it can be in a team that consistently wins big games. He showed that last year in the Challenge Cup final. He was outstanding. The challenge now is replicating that form year on year, month on month, and in the biggest games. If he gets an opportunity for England in the future, and that's then the next challenge. And I made a point last week that I think it's great that there's actually competition for places in those half-back positions with George and Johnny, I think, being the two outstanding candidates. But a new crop. Quite often these positions have been dominated by overseas players in this competition. So the more lads that we can have making decisions, guiding their teams around the park, the better for the game in this country. And Harry, along with Mikey Lewis, I think are leading the way. Lewis did also. So long may it continue. I think it's great for the game, and all our coaches in junior pathways should be encouraging these halfbacks particular to guide their teams around play within a framework, but with some freedom as well. And Harry's certainly gripping this team at the moment.
Yeah, he is. He's very exciting to watch as well. John, I want to discuss your former side, St Helens, because they were beaten by Hull KR last week, which saw them suffer back-to-back defeats. Now, they sit 8th in the table. What's your take? Do you feel that things could get worse before they get better?
I think for a side that's not faced any adversity for nearly 4 years, this is a big test of their character and the resolve. And, when you've not had to face the adversity of maybe a few defeats on the trot of poor performances. Look, St Helens are a bit broken at the minute, especially in the forwards. So A lot of sides go through that in the year. It's magnified because we want to make this a story that St Helens are on the slide. I don't necessarily think that's true. I thought that some of the performances have not been up to par. I thought that when they get those players back, there's every chance we'll see St Helens return to somewhere near their best form. But I think long term this is going to be good for them because you need to go through periods where it's tough. You need to lose. You need to get beaten at Hull KR away. You need to be sat on a bus dejected. You need to be going back home and sulking for a weekend because that is sport, Jenna. And the way that St Helens have cleaned up over the last 4 years is not reflective of how sport is. So for some younger players, Jack Welsby, Lewis Dodd, these kinds of players for St Helens, this is a huge moment in their career. Maybe the first time in the professional career that they've faced adversity on the field with the performances and a real learning experience for them all. But if you want me to sit here and write St Helens off, I'm not going to do it. Not because I played there for 16 years, because I don't believe it to be true that they're on the slide. I think they'll come back, and what a game we've got this. You talk about being in a tough spot. Well, you go up against Warrington, and that's a real test for this St Helens team.
That was my next question to you, John Wilkin. Thanks for spoiling it. Instead, Matt Peet, I'll go to you because tomorrow night we know St Helens take on Warrington. Your Wigan have played those two sides the last 2 weeks. So tomorrow night, those two teams go head-to-head. You're in the box seat. Who do you think will win? Saints or Warrington?
I actually think St Helens will win. I think the fact that Vaughan is banned, the way he's been playing, and that Matty Lees plays, I think that'll be the deciding factor. I think two really quality teams, electric backfields on both sides, but I think St Helens might just take it through the middle. But who knows? I think it'll be a fantastic game. And like John says there, I think people are reading too much into St Helens' current run of results. We went to Hull KR round one feeling that we were going to really perform, and we got turned over. So that result's not as bad as it may appear. They'll be in the mix come the end of the year. So
Matt, just on Hull KR, they're set for their best start to a Super League season ever. What have you made of Hull KR and I suppose their new head coach Willie Peters?
Very impressive. They shocked us on round one. Even looking at the pre-season games, they hadn't played with as much intensity as they did that day, and they gave us a lesson. They kicked us into corners and defended strong, and they won that play the ball speed battle that we've been speaking about. So sat behind probably the best kicker in the competition, really committed team. I think what Kenny Dowell does from in particular, along with Ryan Hall, is magnificent. I think Kenny Dowell's probably an underrated player. And then two young British halfbacks, as we've mentioned. So a lot to like about them. Dynamic dummy half runners. I think they'll be in the mix at the end.
Well, Matt Peet, before I let you go, and this isn't just because you're on the Rugby League verdict, but I did tip Wigan to win Super League this year. John, as he alluded to, tipped St Helens. I'm sticking with Wigan. John, are you sticking with Saints?
Well, this is just typical Jenna Brooks. So you're using my tips when they're looking like they're not likely to happen. And at the moment your tip's looking good, we're talking about who you backed. So unless you're going to bring up who I backed last year and what I said last year, I'm not entertaining this conversation. You can't remember exactly. I can't remember. I think both Wigan and St Helens are fantastic teams. Either them or Warrington or Huddersfield or Catalan or Hull KR could go on and win it. I'm not giving you one name.
Any one of the 12 then?
Yeah, that's why I'm a pundit.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it there. Matt Peet, thank you so much for joining us on the Rugby League verdict. John Wilkin, we'll see you again next week.
Cheers, John.